Hello and welcome into the session on teaching entrepreneurs about ChatGPT and AI solutions for creative businesses. So today I'm just going to go through the basics of ChatGPT and just a simple explanation of what it is and some of the simple use cases for artist entrepreneurs. It's a great tool for anyone that's working for themselves and maybe needs a bit of help when it comes to the admin side of things. And ChatGPT is an amazing tool to kind of guide you through things at times and to have that extra set of hands to work through, whether it's social media or content for emails or whatever else it may be. So, in terms of what ChatGPT is, you can see here the definition of it. It's an AI-based language model that generates human-like responses to text-based inputs. So for someone maybe who isn't used to AI at all, the way I would look at it is, let's say someone was given 1 billion books and they read all of those books and then they retained all of that knowledge. So then they could complete tasks and provide information based on all of the knowledge that they've learned. ChatGPT is kind of like that. It's an evolution from the likes of Google search, where instead of getting a list of results for when you Google something, you're actually getting a human-like response back. You're getting it in a structured way. And you can determine how you get those outputs as well, depending on the prompt you give. And that's kind of the principle that we're kind of focusing on today, because the context that you give ChatGPT within the prompt is very important. That's what's going to give you the most value out of it. So in terms of using ChatGPT for creative businesses, there's a whole myriad of things you could use ChatGPT for, but I kind of looked at these 3 things as a sample for artists and how they could use it efficiently. So the first one is creating artist statements. Artists needs they need the artist statement if they're going for an exhibition or for application forms. And it's great because you're getting the third party perspective on yourself, basically. And as someone like myself, it's a bit hard maybe to build yourself up sometimes. So it was great to get a first draft of your artist statement from a third party source like this, and it can kind of put you in the best light possible as well. The other one then is content, specifically text. You probably know that AI can generate images as well, but today we're just talking about the text element of it. So in terms of content, you could use ChatGPT to create captions for social media, such as Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. You can use it to create emails, whether it's for mailing lists or for email marketing or whatever it may be, or for blog posts or for filling out application forms. So it's brilliant for that. And then also for brainstorming, you can put in a prompt into ChatGPT and ask it to generate a list of 10 or 20 ideas, whatever it may be. So it's very handy for that as well. And another one I'd add in here as well is if you already have content that you wrote out yourself, you can pop it in here and ask it to regenerate it, or to check it for grammar issues, or to check if it's clear, can people understand it? So it's brilliant for that purpose as well. So there are 4 things that I kind of focus on when I'm creating the prompts for ChatGPT. And after this, I'll just dive into ChatGPT itself and show you how to use it. It's very simple. But the first thing is, when creating a prompt, is to specify what you're creating. So it could be an email, social media post, a question in an application form. Specify what it is, because the more context you give ChatGPT, the better output you're going to get from it, because it knows kind of what patterns it should be following. So if it's an email, it'll know to put, the greetings, to put the body content, and then to sign off at the end. If it's social media, it'll know to add a few hashtags at the end as well, and to keep it short. So the more information you give it, the more fleshed out and more accurate it will be for the output then. The second thing is, who is the audience? It's very important that it knows who it's writing for and why. So I have an example for later that will show that we will write the Instagram audience might be female identifying for the majority of the followers, and that they're in the age bracket of 30 to 40 years old. So, that will really help the ChatGPT software kind of say, okay, this is the type of language I'm going to use for what you're asking me to do. The third one is set the tone. This is quite important because when I started using ChatGPT, I thought it was actually quite clinical and the tone wasn't what I wanted. And then I just realized I can literally ask it to set the tone that I wanted. So you could ask it to be friendly, professional, informal, formal, whatever you need it to be. And then the next one is the extras. There's so many more you can add to it. And I think the more you use ChatGPT, the more you'll understand and how you can add to it all the time. One thing that I always do is I ask for the content to be optimized for SEO. For anyone that's not familiar with SEO, it's search engine optimization. So basically, it helps with your content go through the algorithm, whether it's on social media or Google search, so that it gets to your audience easier. So it's based on keywords. So if you're using the proper keywords, the ones that are most popular with people that are searching for the likes of your work, then it's easier for them to discover your website or your Instagram page, and then easier for you then to translate that into sales. Another thing is to give ChatGPT a role. You can tell ChatGPT essentially, pretend you're a digital marketer, pretend you're a consultant. So then it's kind of working on the basis of how that kind of person in that role would work and how would they kind of build the response that you're looking for. So that can be very handy at times as well. And then using frameworks, that's kind of really going into the nitty gritty. So, there's a lot of marketing frameworks out there that you could ask ChatGPT to use when maybe doing the likes of email campaigns or marketing campaigns in general. So that's something you could kind of go into further down the line. So they're essentially the fundamentals of creating the prompt. So what is it creating? Specify that. Who is the audience? Setting the tone, and then the extras after that. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a second and I'll go into ChatGPT itself. And I have it set up here. And first I'll show you where to find ChatGPT if you want to sign up. So first of all, ChatGPT is owned by a company called OpenAI. So it's important that you know that because that's the one you want to be signing up for. It's right here at the moment. If you just Google sign up for ChatGPT, it's easy enough to find. It's free to sign up at the moment. There is a priced package at 20 euros per month as well. It means you get early access to new releases. It also means if ChatGPT gets very busy, that you always have access to it. Because at the moment, if there's a lot of traffic going to ChatGPT, it might say that you can't access it at the moment. That used to be an issue maybe a month or two ago. At the moment, I don't see that as much of an issue anymore, which is amazing. You can also get a mobile app version of ChatGPT as well, which was released in the past few weeks. So that's handy as well if you want it for working on the go or whatever it may be. And then there's lots of other ways then once you get used to ChatGPT to use it. So for example, there's ChatGPT for Gmail. So you could use it within your email as well instead of copying and pasting. And there's so many other things out there at the moment. Feel free to experiment with them. I just chose ChatGPT today since it's so well known, and it's a great place to start anyways. So once you're set up with your account on ChatGPT, this is what you see when you log in. It's good. It shows you here the examples, capabilities, and limitations. And it's down here that you will put your prompt each time. So I did a few earlier for examples. The first one is I kind of pretended that I was an artist and that I was, it's loading here at the moment now, I'll just refresh that. I pretended I was an artist trying to create an Instagram caption. And you can see here, I followed the fundamentals I had on the slide a few minutes ago. So the first thing I said was, what are we creating? So I said we were creating an Instagram caption for my Instagram page. I then also said that I am the artist who created this piece, that it's in the image. So we're giving it a lot of context here so that ChatGPT knows what it's writing about. So then we go on to the second fundamental, which is the audience. So here I specify that the audience is female identifying, and they're in the age bracket of 30 to 40. And the reason they're following Instagram is that they follow the journey of the artist, and some of them are potential buyers. So that's good for ChatGPT to understand, so they know how to phrase the content then. And then we also put in the goal as well, because that's another motivation there. You know, the artist is putting up obviously the work in order to sell it and to have a sustainable business. So it's important that the content will reflect that if that's what they want. And then, like I said, set the tone as well. So we put in authentic and friendly here. And then finally, I set it to optimize the text for SEO. So you can see the response it gave me here, which is quite good. And what's really interesting as well is that because I asked it to optimize the text for SEO, it showed me what it actually optimized. And that's really interesting because it shows you the hashtags it chose and the keywords it shows as well that's sprinkled within the content here. The one thing I will say is, you know, ChatGPT does have its limitations. So when it comes to the likes of SEO, I can't say for sure if this is the most effective way or not. The one thing I would say is if you're not used to SEO and not sure where to start with it, this is better than nothing. And I think it really helps you bridge the gap between working for yourself at the moment and being able to generate enough revenue to outsource some of your business functions in the future. So for this example, it could be getting a digital marketer in the future that will help you create content and build your strategy as well. But at the moment, if you're a solo artist working by yourself, it's just worth its weight in gold really to be using this. So that's an example I did there for an Instagram caption, and you'd kind of do the same for any other social media content as well. The next example I did then was an email. So this is a different way that I wrote it out this time. Again, I just followed the fundamentals again. The first thing I said was what I want ChatGPT to create. So that is to create an email that will be sent to everyone on my mailing list. And I'm also saying that I'm a traditional Irish musician here. So from that context, it kind of knows, who the audience is, why are we writing this mailing list and all of that. And this is what I often do. If I know what I want to write, I kind of write everything in bullet points. So I made this very simple and short now. You would be probably expanding on it a bit more if you're writing this properly. So the first thing I said is that I have a new album coming out, that there's a concert in Dublin coming up in August, and that there's merchandise available on the shop. So it knows what to write about, and now it has the context. The next thing I put in was who the audience is. So we're talking about its loyal followers on the mailing list. It's important to point out here as well that, you know, if someone is on your mailing list, more than likely they've already bought something from you, or they bought tickets or merch or whatever it may be. So the language should kind of reflect that as well. And then for the third fundamental, again, we put down what kind of tone we wanted to be there. So I said we want it to be authentic and fresh. That's a bit vague, but you know, you'll play around with it and you'll learn kind of what will work for you eventually. And then the last thing I did here, which is kind of one of the extras you can work with, is I said add headings to the content, because, you know, when you're reading an email, you don't want a long paragraph. You want it to be broken into sections. So by adding in headings, and it will create the headings for you, it's a really good way of putting structure onto it and making it more user-friendly as well for the people receiving it. So it reflected down here then the output, and I did two actually. So every time you create a prompt and it generates an output, you will always find this button down here, regenerate response. So you can actually generate multiple outputs of the same thing. So this was the first one that it did, and it put in the headings in this manner. You can see the language is maybe not what you'd want, like concert extravaganza, Merchandise galore, I feel is going very generic and kind of picking up on a bit of tropes there, kind of related to Irish language music, or sorry, Irish music. So, I was like, actually, let's generate another one and see what it comes up with. And the other one, the language was much more suitable, I thought. So you'll find that as well, that you will be going through different versions of everything. And another thing you can do is talk back to it. So let's say you have the email there now at the moment. So I want it to be shorter. So I'll say, write this email again and make it 50% shorter. And then press enter, and we'll see what it comes up with now. So it's writing out now, and this is how it generates all the time. It's kind of writing in real time in front of you. And you can see here already, it's quite short. It's really, condensed the bullet points and the headings that we had. So it's a really good thing. You can kind of like work through it in multiple iterations through this, and it will work with you in that regard as well. So another thing you can do as well is, let's say you do have content already, but you want to maybe check if there's grammar issues or if it makes sense. So let's say earlier I wrote this little caption here, and I tried to make it as wordy as possible and make it sound a bit complicated. I said, next to the town hall in Galway City, there will be an event for Artpreneurs to get together and meet each other. There will be talks, workshops, and more. If you feel you would be interested to attend this event, please contact the email in the bio of the website. So as you can see, that's quite wordy and it was a bit just convoluted. So I just asked it, write the below in a more concise, easier to understand way. And it gave me this one here. Join Artpreneurs at the upcoming event in Galway City's Town Hall. Connect, learn, and engage with talks, workshops, and more. To express your interest in attending, please contact the email provided in the bio. It's just so much easier. And I think it's such a great tool because, we all have days when it's a bit difficult to be writing, if you're stuck in your head and you just want to make sure that the work you're putting out there is actually appropriate and easy for people to understand and work through. So I do this quite often, and it's very, very, very handy. And like I said earlier, you have the tools like ChatGPT for Gmail. There's a few extensions you can buy so that you can actually work within Gmail and not be going into ChatGPT at all. And eventually as well, you'll see that Google will have their own version as well. Google Bard will be implemented within Gmail at some point. So you will be able to generate AI responses and all of that. So that's the end of the tutorial there. And let's go back to the slides now that we had when we started. Just 1 second now. And the one thing I will say is that you need to be aware of the potentials and also of the limitations with ChatGPT. I mentioned there earlier for the likes of SEO, you might not necessarily know if it's actually optimizing it properly or not. But it's better than nothing if you're starting out, and it's kind of a place for you to start. It's also, good for you to not see it as a finished product when you get the output. You're kind of taking the output usually and kind of tweaking it then to your own style. You'll know yourself if you're creating content, what you need to be saying. And sometimes ChatGPT can give out something that is a bit generic and that won't pick up on people's attention. It won't get people excited. So just to be aware of that, it's just there to kind of get rid of the blank page in front of you and to give you something to start with. Sometimes it will get it right at the first go, and feel free to use it, but just that you're aware that there's a lot more to consider with it as well. It's a great tool, but just to be aware of all the limitations as well. So if anyone wants to have any follow-up sessions at any point, I do one-to-one sessions as well, whether it's looking at the overall business workflow, solutions you can use to implement within your work to make it easier, because the whole goal we have at Tunta is to help you reclaim your time so you can focus more on your creative outputs, because that's really what adds the most value to your business and to make it as sustainable as possible. You can follow us as well on tunta.io. We're across all socials there. Tunta, essentially, we're working on an app at the moment that will centralize all of your online sales conversations from the likes of Instagram, Gmail, and further down the line, WhatsApp, Facebook, and more, so that you have one place to manage all of your conversations with your community and centralize all the information there, whether it's for sales or relationship building. So, keep an eye out there on socials where you'll see updates coming as we keep working on the development part of that. And if you have any questions after this, feel free to email me at hello@tunta.io. I'm more than happy to have a chat at any point, whether it's to book a one-to-one session or a discovery call to see if I can help you and guide you in the best direction possible. So yeah, feel free to reach out at any time. And thank you so much, and have a great day.